Okay, we'll call this meeting to order. This is the October 9th, 2025 Board of Education meeting. Today we'll have an open session which will consist of a work session, and then we'll go immediately into our business meeting. With that, we'll do a roll call, please.
Mr. Davidson?
Here.
Dr. Kopus?
Here.
Mr. Sprague?
Here.
Mrs. Baker?
Here.
And I'll make a note in the minutes that Ms. Matthews is absent this evening.
Okay. Next on the agenda is our city council representative, and it doesn't seem like anyone's here, so we'll move on. Next item is the BCESC superintendent and partnership.
Yes, thank you, Vice President Davidson. I want to take a minute here to just introduce Butler County ESC's current superintendent, Chris Brown, and he's got an introduction that he'd like to make here this evening as well. So Chris, the floor is yours.
It's on. We're good. Thank you, Ms. Blevins. It's a privilege to be here. My name is Chris Brown. She said I'm the superintendent of the BCESC, which is the old Kroger building on Route 4, for those of you that don't know. Mr. Brand is passing out, or Mr. Frazier is passing out just some information for you. Reason we're here is just to thank you for the partnership. We do a lot of things with Hamilton Schools, a lot of things with the Hamilton Community Foundation, a lot of things in the city of Hamilton overall. It's been a great partnership for a long, long time. I've been fortunate enough to be the superintendent for the last 10 years. But as Ms. Blevins says, I'm getting ready to transition out of here in January, so I do want to introduce the person who will be the next superintendent, Mr. Jeff Brandt. So thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Jeff Brandt, and as Chris said, I'll be transitioning in as the new superintendent. So really looking forward to this role. I've spent 30 years in K-12 public education, primarily in the Oak Hills Local School District, where I've had previous experiences as administrator, building level administrator, high school principal, a little HR work, and then the last 9 years I was superintendent. And so when this opportunity came to be able to come up and impact in a different way, I'm just really looking forward to. You got a great team here in Hamilton, and really already have learned quite a bit about the relationship that we have with the Hamilton City Schools and the great community that you have. So appreciate your service to the business as well, and I look forward to working with you guys as we move forward. So thank you for the time, just for a brief introduction.
Thank you.
Good luck, Chris.
Yeah.
You got some big shoes to fill.
I'm a little worried about that.
Welcome.
Well, all right, we'll move on to the next item, which will be our weekly or meeting spotlight.
Good evening. It's a beautiful day outside. I'm loving rolling into fall break here. So all students and staff that are out there, I hope you enjoy your fall break. Stay safe. Visit our pumpkin. Operate your pumpkin. Spit it out, Wisebroad. Okay. I've got a pretty cool one to share with you today. Today we are recognizing Miss Donna Moorhead. She is one of our crossing guards, and I can't tell you how many times that we've received phone calls up here, positive phone calls up here, multiple people that not only work in this office, but other buildings as well. Just how personable and friendly that she is, very welcoming, and she's at a tough intersection. She's at the corner of Fair and 129. So very busy. We were just having some stories about, some of the drivers that don't pay attention to that. And it's extremely, extremely important jobs to get our kids coming to school safe. But not only, she goes out of her way to make that personal connection, and that's what we've heard time and time again up here. She was just sharing a story about a young man. We're talking about junior high kids, so sometimes it's too cool to talk to adults. But she would say good morning to this young man all the time, and he would just be stoic and straight-faced, walk straight, but she'd continue to break down that wall, right? And one day he smiled, and she just told me, he said, smile more, keep that it looks good on you. And from then on, the walls were broke down, and he would smile at her on the way. She was talking to me about how she wishes people's luck on tests. You know, there's that personal interaction to get them there. So you've got a very tough job. She said she's a people person, and this is the best job that she's ever have. All throughout the district, we appreciate all of our crossing guards, but Ms. Moorhead, we wanted to recognize you this evening for your hard work and dedication to the Hamilton City School District. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts for all you do. If you don't mind, we've got a small little gift for you.
Yeah, come on.
Come on up. She doesn't like this part either. Maybe I should bring Arrow up here. Everybody would want to come up here with Arrow. Again, thank you very much from all of us here at the Hamilton City School. Enjoy your tumbler. Here, I've got a box for it, but thank you for all you do.
I love what I do. I love the kids.
It shows. It shows.
Okay,
So.
thank you so much.
If you don't mind, Ms. Moorhead, we're going to take a picture up here real quick to celebrate here on our community newsletter.
Congratulations. Oh, yeah, yeah.
And those drivers are crazy on one.
Yeah, you're one. I've seen you drive. Don't make it difficult. Okay, go ahead.
I recently retired from my full-time profession. About 2 months ago, my wife was already pressuring me to get another job. One thing I always thought was cool was being a crossing guard. Well, one of my goals is to avoid as much stress as possible. So is that a high stress?
I love the kids. I love the kids. I just love the kids. And, you know, that makes me get up every morning and, you know, go. And I do enjoy it. It's the best job I've had, and I've worked since I was 17. I'm
Wow.
76, so.
This is year 10, right? Going into year 10?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I respect that. And I love the story about the young man that
I
smiled.
told him, I said, honey, that smile looks good on you, and every day you smile at me. I'm like, oh my God.
Good for you. Thank you so much.
I'm so nervous.
Oh, you're all right.
Okay, we'll move on, and I think we have a presentation tonight from Riverview Elementary.
We're gonna have to move that up and
It's
down.
always a little awkward. First of all, it's exciting to hear that Jeff Brandt's coming. I had your dad, of course, at Xavier for administrative classes, and he was the best. So it's good to have you. So I'm Anne Marie Barth, the principal at Riverview, and Katie Milders, my assistant principal, is here. Also, we brought our shining star, Nikki Bowling. She is our 6th grade teacher. She teaches ELA. She also has a daughter at Bridgeport, correct, 6th grade, and a son, Darian, who is our now freshman football coach.
Yes.
Yes. So she's a longtime Hamiltonian, but Nikki has been with our district for
28 years.
28 years, and we're begging her to stay past her retirement. We'll see if that happens. But she, actually, her and her team, Grace Caldwell and Julie Rogers, have really developed this student ambassadors program. So it was here before I got here as principal. And they've kind of incorporated a new behavior system, if you will, called Palace Pay, and how that ties into our student ambassadors. So this is a specific program to our 6th graders. And so I'm going to kind of start out and kind of tell you a little bit about the students that they're looking for as the student ambassador program. And then Nikki's going to tell you a little bit about what they do. So when looking for ambassadors, we are looking for the specific qualities such as demonstrating our expectations of our school, which we say in our pledge every day, which is to be respectful, responsible, and ready to learn. We're looking for kiddos who have consistently good grades, also good behavior, so no referrals to the office. Also kiddos who have good attendance. Also looking just for character traits in students that are helpful, reliable, and trustworthy. and just kiddos who kind of show that they have the ability to be a role model for other students. So that kind of conversation, I'll let Nikki talk a little bit more about that, but that conversation is had with the kiddos so that they kind of understand what they're looking for.
So when we look for our ambassadors, we start the year by telling the kids that we're going to take a couple weeks to get to know them, and we want to, the things we're looking for. We want some role models. We need kids who are consistently showing up, doing good things, and also, have that care for their grades, but also the respect of their classmates and their teachers. So when we get ready to pick our ambassadors, we have them fill out an online application, just like they'll do in real life. With that application, they also have to have a recommendation from a staff member, so they have to have that reference. We do like a leadership position thing for them. We give them little tasks to do as kind of like a test to kind of see how their leadership goes with that. And then we sort of meet with them and talk to them about what the jobs of ambassadors are. Is this something that you're interested in? And we start out the year with 8. We try to start with a lower number. And then each quarter we add a few. So as the kids see what these ambassadors are doing and the jobs that they have, then more kids kind of get on board and want to apply as the year goes on. And since it's only open to 6th graders, they've kind of seen this coming up through the years that it's a pretty important thing to do. And then as they work at events, they are also paid through their Palace Pay. So that gives them extra money, play money or school money that they can use for events and other things at school. Okay. Some of the things that the ambassadors do is they're in charge of recycling in our building. So on Thursday and Friday, we have 2 teams that will recycle the upstairs and the downstairs and the office quite a few times a week. And then they're in charge of like watering the flowers and things that are outside or around the building. We use them during conferences to greet parents. We try to make sure that we have at least a few bilingual students because we have such a huge Hispanic population at our school, so that they can translate for parents and help them find the classrooms that they're going to, put them on and off of elevators if they need that. They run a table at Trunk or Treat, so they feel, really important. They get to pass out candy to kids at Trunk or Treat. We host open gyms and dances after school, and they get to help with setup and cleanup, and then they also get to help run the concession stand. Yep, sure. The other things that they do is they help us organize and run a donation drive that we have, the Blessing Box at the Booker T. Washington Center. That was a 17-strong project that our kids did a few years ago. And so we take donations a couple times a year, and the kids will walk those donations over and fill that Blessing Box at the center for the community. They also tutor students in younger grades. We get referrals from teachers saying this kid just needs a little bit of help in math or reading, so we coordinate their times like during a lunch period or during a recess or a special time that they can go down and tutor students outside in the pods for other classrooms. They also help teachers and staff in the building with any tasks that come up. I know when the title staff brought us a couple things that they were going to use as manipulatives that kind of needed to be put together just recently, so they will bring their lunch upstairs and get those things together for teachers and help out with any of those tasks that need to be done.
Before she goes on to Palace Pay, one of our biggest things as administrators, trying to dismiss about 450 bus students every day can be quite interesting, grades pre-K through 6. And so we have assigned bus captains, which are generally student ambassadors. Sometimes they're kiddos who are looking to become an ambassador possibly, and they're kind of proving themselves to us. And so these bus captains are there, and they will take, some of our kinders have to go to the bathroom quite frequently, so they'll walk the kid to the bathroom, walk them back, make sure they get on their bus. But it's generally a kid that's on their bus as well. And so it's just a good contact too for some of those kids if if they feel like they need to be heard on the bus, but the bus driver's driving, they can always report it to their bus captain, and sometimes their bus captain reports to us. So it's a really good, way for both grades and both ages to kind of come back and forth between one another in that communication, and again, just building that community. So that's been a really big help for us as administrators as well.
So last year we implemented a new program called Palace Pay. My colleague Julie Rogers, my team member, actually came up with this through something that she had seen being done in other classrooms across the country. So we sort of took it and ran with it and developed our own classroom economy system. And this way we can involve all of our sixth graders. So our ambassador program is great, but it only involves so many students. So we were looking for a way to involve all of the students. And also, we teach that middle school age, so it's kind of difficult sometimes to get them to buy into things. But Palace Pay is one that they definitely have bought into. So we have class money. The students get direct deposits every 2 weeks into their account. They have a ledger that they have to keep track of what they're spending and how much money they get in their paycheck every 2 weeks. We have an online ledger, so we check that with them to make sure that everything balances. They are able to, they get paid for coming to school every day on time, just like we get paid to go to work. They get paid for extra jobs that they do, like the bus leaders, and we have kindergarten helpers at lunch. So anything they do inside the school day as a job, they get paid for. We have news that's on our screen every morning, so our news crew gets paid for that. And then if they're absent, they don't get paid that day. And if they're tardy, they don't get paid that day. So that's kind of like a way to help with attendance to get them to come every day. And then they also, through Class Dojo, once their class earns like $10 or $20, they get an extra $1 or $2 on their paycheck. So that's ways that they can earn. They also will get fines for any discipline that has to happen, an office referral or calls home, anything like that. They'll get a fine on their paycheck, and they see all of that every 2 weeks when they get paid. And then they're able to, we charge rent. So every month they have to pay rent for their desk and their chair and their computer. So at the beginning of the month, they're so funny. They all come in and they're all like, "It's rent day. I'm gonna be broke." It's really pretty funny. And then we also are teaching them that they have to keep their rent money in their account. You can't go to the store and buy anything unless you have enough for your rent for that month. So that's been a huge thing. We have a store that we run through mostly donations of things that we've gotten from the community, and then also when we raise some money each year to try to get some things for them to buy at their store. And so it's a lot of snacks. Snacks are always good for middle school kids. But we have journals, and mechanical pencils are huge. Like, these are things, lots of it is school supply driven, that they can buy with their Palace Pay. And then our ambassadors get extra pay every time they work an event as well. So there's just a lot of ways that they can spend their money, but also earn their money, and it's teaching them to kind of balance that. And it's fun to hear the conversations where somebody will say, "I'm gonna buy a snack," but then you're only gonna have $11 and the rent is $10. You probably need to save your money. So at the end of the year, we do an auction for those kids who have saved. Last year, we had kids with over $100 that they saved of their Palace Pay. So we auctioned off anything that was left in our store. And then there are always those kids who barely have the $10 too. But, so we can tell you who's going to be real successful at money already. But it's a great way to teach them the economics piece, and also that your behavior also ties into all of those things.
Two just quick, very sweet stories. One, there have been students who have paid for other students to come to the dance or to come to, whatever it might be, because they noticed that the kiddo, maybe they were out sick for a while and they didn't get that money. But that's really cool, because they had asked them, "Can I pay for my friend to come?" And the teachers will make the final decision based on whatever it might be. If they're suspended for 7 days, probably not. Nope. But if you've been out with, the flu, okay, we might give you a credit on that one. So that's really cool. And then one other great story, Katie and I were at a soccer intramural tournament, and there was a kid who saw us and yelled up to us and said, if I get a goal, how many Palace Pay bucks do I get? You know, we were like 5. And sure enough, that kid scored 2 goals that day. But so it transfers. It surely transfers. So we just have a quick video here to end our presentation of some of the kids, what they have to say about student ambassadors.
We are ambassadors. A student ambassador is somebody who is a role model for other students. They are respectful, responsible, and somebody that can be relied on to help get things done.
Hi, my name is Serenity.
And hi, my name is Lamayu.
And what you have to do to become a student ambassador, the first thing is
you have to fill out an application.
And the second thing is you have to have a teacher that recommends you to be a student ambassador.
Hello, I am Mikkel.
And I am Angel.
And here's some of the qualities teachers look for in ambassadors. Student needs to have good attendance.
They need good grades and good behavior.
They also need a faculty member to recommend them.
They cannot be in any issues.
Hi, my name is Marielle.
Hi, and I'm Minor.
And we are going to be telling you what ambassadors do around the building. We help things around the building like recycling, watering flowers, greet and navigate parents at conferences. We will also have a table at Trunk or Treat where you and your child can come and get a lot of candy for Halloween.
And the other is help at open gyms and dances like setting up tables and tearing them down. Help with concession and tutor students in younger grades. Helping teachers and staff.
Awesome.
That's it.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Well, thanks for coming. I absolutely love this. I absolutely love this Palace Pay.
Thank you.
Well, it's teaching kids at a young age about budgeting,
Right.
manage money, or how to manage their money. And I think that's lacking in some situations with kids. So they're learning early. You know,
Yes.
paying rent for your desk, I love it. Maybe
Yeah, it's
they'll take-
great.
maybe
And
they'll
at
take more
tax
care of
time,
it, you
they
know?
pay taxes. When you guys pay taxes, like the April, that April 15th date, they pay their taxes on that date too. And it is really cool. They have withdrawal slips, they have deposit slips, they have a ledger. It's really neat.
And you're really teaching them what they need to know to go
Yes.
forward. Now, question for you. With
Yeah.
the ambassador program, you said there's 8 that you take at the beginning of the year. How many at the end of the year do you typically wind up with?
Last year we had 20.
20?
Yes, by the end of the year we had 20.
And at the beginning of the year, when you're taking your initial 8, how many usually apply?
Usually almost everyone applies.
Okay.
Yeah, because they're like, oh, okay. I mean, and then we have to kind of sit them down and talk to them about like, these people got chosen for all these reasons. So when you show those qualities, we'll be happy to add people to that. And so, yeah, a lot of them do. There are a couple who are like, I don't want to do that. That's extra work. But most of the kids are interested in the program and want to be involved.
Well, I love it. Keep it up.
Thank you.
As a former banker,
Yes.
great job on Palace Pay, trust me.
Thank you. It's
You're
really
teaching them some valuable lessons early in life. Yes.
And it's helped with behavior, and it ties kind of everything together with also real life skills. So
Great job.
thank you.
I think it's a great motivator for the younger kids too.
Yes.
As they're coming up there. I mean, if you're telling us you're only going to take 8 kids at 6th grade and you got the whole class.
Right.
Yeah, they're looking at that and saying, yeah, we want to be a part of it.
Yes.
And I just, with everybody else, love the financial component, the financial literacy. I'm so glad you did not say you had credit cards too.
Oh, no. No.
But the idea that they have to, that whole idea, you have to earn what you're spending is great. Thank you.
Thank you.
very much, guys. Good job.
Thanks.
Principal Barth and Vice Principal Milders, one comment and one question. My comment is, what a neat program to teach young students leadership roles and responsibilities. I think that's wonderful. My question is this, at some point during your presentation, you mentioned someone with 28 years. Really? Hey, I just want to tell you, I have a tremendous amount of respect for that. Thank you so much for your dedication. Glad you're here, and
And I agree. Please stay past your retirement.
Thank you. I've been here all of my 28 years. So
Yeah.
I've been in Hamilton all 28 years in 5th and 6th grade, but 6th grade mostly. I thought I wanted to teach 3rd grade, and I started with Sue Chanel. I don't know if you guys remember
Oh,
Sue.
yeah.
And she said, I'm going to hire you. And I said, oh, for 3rd grade? And she said, no, for 6th.
Oh.
And I was terrified. But I've never left, so apparently she knew that. But I am a huge Hamilton person, born and raised, and I'll be here until I have to retire. Maybe I'll stay longer.
Well-
But thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, Nikki, Anne Marie, Katie, I just, want to echo what our board has shared tonight, but I think something that really shines through is also that ownership and that pride for their school and that showing up. We talk every day about attendance, right, and getting kids. The biggest part of the battle is getting them through the doors once they're there, and so just that idea of noticing whether they're coming on time or being tardy. I just think that's such a innovative way to pay them for their time, because that is their full-time job as 6th graders, and you're not treating them like babies. I know at times 6th grade and elementary is hard.
It is.
And so I echo everything the board shared, but I just think what an innovative way to try to attack something that is a chronic problem. If they're not there, we can't teach them. And this shows the reward for those that are coming and being there. And, it's not a punitive piece. It's a reward.
Right.
So I want to thank you. I think the world of what you do in your classroom, but this is just an awesome program. And thanks for coming to share it with us tonight.
Right, thank you.
Thank you.
If I can, just one more plug. 6th grade had the least referrals of our building last year, the least, which can be tough feat. So kindergarten even had more than they did. So it's proving to work very well. It's very successful. So thanks for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Frazier, I owe you an apology. We always put him after one of these feel-good stories, and I get heck every time
Never fails.
afterwards
It never
for the
fails.
story. But the same theme, finances.
Well,
Yeah.
but we're going from something good to something not so good.
He hates following the kids and good programming.
It
So we'll
never
move on
fails.
to the forecast. Dr. Kopis has indicated he will write prescriptions for painkillers after this presentation, if anybody needs them.
Thank you, Dr. Kopis.
Jeremy, it's up to you now.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Davidson. Once again, I've cleared the room. And just one comment. I know you all kind of stole my thunder talking about this Palace Pay program, but oh my God, I can't say enough nice things about that. Andrea was looking at me, and I couldn't wipe the smile off of my face as she was presenting paying the rent and the taxes and earning the money and all those things. What a fantastic program they have. So, okay, well, it's that time of year again. It's forecast time. Although this year, it's about a month earlier than normal. Typically, we do these in November and then again in May. But with the new state budget, they have changed the November and May timeframe to August and February. They're giving us a reprieve this first year. We have to have this done by October 15th. We have to have an approved forecast. It has to be submitted to the state, and so that's what we are going to be doing tonight. But the next one will not be in May. It will be in February, and then thereafter it'll be August, February, unless something changes again.
Is there a reason for the change?
I have no idea.
Is there any reason?
No, I was
for what they're doing
going
up there?
I was setting the ball up.
Thank you.
So here's an overview of what we're going to go over tonight. Very similar to what we've done in the past. We will have an introduction to what is the forecast, what's its purpose, why do we use it. We'll go over revenue and expenditure categories, so where we receive money in those categories and how we spend those funds. We'll look at how that changes over time with some assumptions that we will make in this forecast. And then at the end, we will look at what that means for the financial condition of the district. So what is a forecast? A forecast is a snapshot analysis of general fund revenues, expenses, and cash balance. So it's what we know at this point in time. We make some assumptions because it's a long time frame. And what does that mean throughout that period? Like I said, we have to approve it twice a year. Used to be November and May. Now it is August and February, with the exception being this year. It is the general fund only. We have lots of funds in the school district. We have permanent improvement funds for capital projects. We have food service funds for lunches. We have federal grants, state grants, principals funds. We have a lot of funds, but this is the general fund. It's our main operating fund. And they also made another change to the forecast. We always called this the 5-year forecast. Well, they've dropped the last year off of it. So it has traditionally been 3 years of history and then 5 years of projection, with the current year being the first year. That is still the case, except we've lopped off the last year. So it's no longer a 5-year forecast, it's a 4-year forecast. So what's the purpose of it? We use it so the board can engage the community in long-term planning. The forecast also allows me to sign what's called the 412 certificate. That just means we have the ability to meet our financial obligations. But what we really use it for, we use the forecast as a tool. Management cabinet meets every Monday morning, and there are always things brought up, ideas for the district, things we want to do that are either cost savers for the district or things that cost the district money. And with that, obviously there's some financial implications there, and we will take those ideas, do a cost study, and then throw that information into the forecasting software and see what that means for us long term. Is that something that moves the needle, or is it something we want to do that really doesn't cost that much money? And great, we can go ahead and do those things. So that's what we really use the forecast for. Revenues. We get 20% of our revenue from local taxpayers, and that's through property tax. We get the bulk of our money through state funding, which is currently the Fair School Funding Formula. We get 75%. So that's a huge driver for what happens in this district. We are very dependent on what happens at the state level and what comes out of the biennium budget. So that's very, very important to us. And then 5% is all other revenue, and that's various reimbursements, the largest of which is Medicare reimbursements, and then the other large piece of that is interest earnings.
Jeremy, would you rather questions at the end or as you go along?
Go ahead, absolutely.
Okay, so I think people have to realize that what they're seeing right there on the screen, that we get 75% from state funding and 20%. Not all districts are like this.
Absolutely not. So if you think of like a Lakota, and I choose them because they're almost the exact opposite of us. They get most of their money, about 3/4, from local property taxpayers and about 20% from the state.
And their taxes are extremely high.
They could be. I haven't looked too far into that,
but one of the reasons is because of our base property here. That's one of the reasons it's so low.
There are a lot of reasons why we get most of our money from the state. There's something in place now called the Fair School Funding Formula. So what they look at is a myriad of items. So some of that is socioeconomic condition of the school district. Some of that is the income base of the residents. Some of that is property valuation. There's a whole host of items, and they throw them into this formula, and we get something called base cost, and that's what effectively they pay us per kid to help operate the school system. So the more money in the community, the less money you get from the state.
Looks like we got a little over $88 million from the state. What did we get last year from the state?
It's probably really close to that. I'd have to pull up the forecast to look at it. But we did not get a large increase this year, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. During the May forecast, we forecasted on the House version of the budget. So that comes out every 2 years, right? And it comes out after the May forecast. So during the May forecast, again, it's a snapshot analysis. During that time, we had the House version to go on. Well, they still had the Senate version to come out. Then they had conference committee. And what we ended up getting stuck with was the Senate version, which included a 0% increase in that base cost that we talked about.
Even though our costs continue to rise.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And that's one of the problems we have doing these budgets, is that you're hoping for the best, but you have to be realistic.
Exactly, which is why we had to update the model from May to get rid of any kind of increase that we were looking at, because we ended up with the Senate version of the bill, which was a 0% increase in base cost. Yeah.
Even though over the they were supposed to fully fund that.
Correct, and we had looked at that. I mean, originally this was a 6-year plan.
Yeah.
They did the first 2 years, and then in year 3 and 4, they phased in additional base cost. So if you look at forecasts prior, we look okay going out, because we were anticipating them fully funding 5 and 6 like they had done 1, 2, 3, and 4. Well, that didn't end up happening.
Exactly.
So now we are stuck with, and we'll see this, what looks like pretty much a flat revenue stream throughout the forecast period.
Jeremy, correct me. We ended up with the Senate version, but was there not? Then it went, but then they talked, and then it went to the governor, and then the governor vetoed some things, and then it came back. And what came back, was it the Senate version?
Basically, the underlying bill, a lot of that was the Senate version of the bill. He did line item veto a few things.
Yeah.
But that's up for question now, because there could be some veto overthrow. So there's still some things out there kind of in the balance. Nothing major as far as what we're looking at for our funding.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Fraser, one comment I want to make is we need to make sure that our community is aware that, anticipated financial difficulties for our district is not because of anything that our district has done. It's because of what our politicians have done. I just think that's important for people to know that. I think our district has been unbelievably fiscally sound. And we'll try to continue to be that way, but it's the politicians that are making it very difficult.
I agree, and what's disturbing is we're basically flat funded, but they can find $1.7 billion to give to private schools of taxpayer money.
Without any accountability.
But no accountability. We don't know, how that money's being spent.
Sure. And we'll see some of that in graph form here in a little bit, just some visuals for you guys in the public. So we talked about expenditures a little bit. With any school district, the largest expenditure you're going to have in the general fund is going to be personnel costs. So that's salaries and benefits for our folks. And that makes up about 84% of our general fund expenditures. It's a large number. 13% of general fund expenses are in the form of purchase services. That could be ESC contracts with Mr. Brandt. That could be utility costs and the like. And then we have all other, makes up about 3%, which is pretty much all supplies. Okay, so here we are. This is a representation of this year. So this is FY26. We're projected to receive a little north of $117 million this fiscal year, and we're expected to spend just south of $122 million this year. So we're staring down a $4.7 million deficit this year. And you can see what that does to our cash balance over on the left-hand side. So the orange column is where we started the year, and the blue column is where we expect to end this year.
Jeremy, can you talk for just a second about how we ended up with, I mean, a lot of people would look at that $48 or $43 million and say, you know, that's a big chunk. But part of that was because we were concerned of the future. But
correct.
Can you talk a little bit more about how we ended up with that?
The school district finances are cyclical. So before COVID, we were, the models look very similar to where we are now, with a spending deficit and a declining cash balance. Then COVID came, and we got $44 million injected into the system. And we did, I think, a great job of managing those monies, having a soft landing. I mean, some districts went off what they called the COVID cliff, as far as, you know, managing those expenses, coming back into the fold after federal funds ran out. And so we built up a nice cash balance there. But we're kind of back into that trajectory before we were there. And we knew FY26, if you go back and pull past forecasts, we knew FY26 was going to be a bear. But there were things that we were waiting on. You know, there's the biennium budget. We have a new biennium, which is, you know, at this point in the forecast, more than other forecasts, I'm more confident in at least this year's and next year's numbers because we're operating under the same biennium. Moving forward, FY28, 29, we're going to have a new governor. The governor sets the stage for how much money the state's going to spend on education. So that is kind of one of the assumptions we're going to make that we'll talk about. But yeah, we're in a similar spot. We have done a nice job, build up a cash balance. We do have a little bit of cushion. But as we move forward and look at this deficit spend, there are some things that we need to do to take care of that deficit spend.
The state makes us have cash on hand or cash balance equivalent to 3 months of expenses?
So, and I actually have a graph on that later. The state says they'd like to see you with 60 days cash.
Okay.
And no less than 30 is what they say. But I can tell you, anybody with 30 days cash, with only a month of cash, they're on the ballot.
Scary.
That's really
They're on the
scary.
ballot. So we'll look at that here shortly. But this is what we look like for this year, and then we'll show a graph here shortly that shows what that looks like throughout the forecast period.
So again, to the point that we, as a district, were very responsible in how we handled those COVID dollars, recognizing the fact that.
Oh, absolutely. And I think we did a great job putting the dollars where they need to be in the classroom.
Yep.
Hiring some great teachers, some that are still with us.
Yes.
So I think that was a really smart thing to do.
Thank you.
Mr. Frazier, if I could add one thing to that piece too, where Jeremy talked about as a soft landing coming down from COVID, that deficit spend that we're looking at in actual dollars now would have been $2 to $3 million more if what we did last year through attrition and those pieces were not already done. So when Jeremy talks about how we're using these dollars every single week, we were able to lower that negative spend this year, knowing what was happening by looking at class sizes, looking at things like that. So we are constantly analyzing and trying to make those adjustments, but we were looking, I think all in all, about $2 million higher if we would have kept every position or refilled, even though our class sizes were much smaller.
Well, and I think that's been the case since I've been on the board, is it's every year looking at how can we make ourselves more financially sound? I'll just say, I think Mike Holbrook did a great job in saying, looking at the future, and he sort of predicted a lot of this and saying we need to be on top of this now. We can't wait. We've seen it in other districts around us who have waited to the last minute and think there's going to be, something is going to save them, and they've hit a brick wall. We have been constantly trying to meet the needs of our city, our community, our schools, knowing that it's crazy how we finance the schools. It's just plain crazy.
Yeah.
Jeremy, one question real quick. This cash balance that we have of 43 million,
Yes.
I assume it's invested. We're getting some type of return.
Oh, yes. So that's all part of that new report that you all have, started approving last board meeting.
My question is that part of included in the 117 million general fund revenue that you're?
Yes.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
already in there?
Yes. The investment earnings are in the projection. They're actually in that 5%, all other revenue. So while we do a nice job with investing monies, again, it's a very small piece of what we operate on, and the bulk of that is what we get from the state, for sure. So we've talked about some of these already. What's changed since May? Again, the May forecast had the House bill version of the biennium. That is not what happened. We got stuck with the Senate version. And so we've had to adjust the model to include zero increase in base cost. We have updated the model with an increased enrollment decline. The model now currently has 40 less students in the October forecast than we did in May. And we look at that. We look at student enrollment every Monday morning, by grade level. I've got a graph here to show what that enrollment decline has looked like in the last couple of years. I think it's very interesting. We've updated the model with reducing some of those interest earnings from what we had in May. So we had a Fed rate cut in September. We're probably going to have another one here late October, and the market is already pricing in almost at 100% another one in December. So we've kind of put those dollars into play as reducing some investment earnings throughout the forecast. But something that we've also done is increased the Medicare reimbursement revenue line item. So it actually almost equals out dollar value on that all other line, because as Medicare costs and Medicare expenditures, Medicare eligible expenditures increase, so does our reimbursement from those eligible expenses. So we just put a check in the bank last week for $1.4 million for Medicare reimbursement. So those are starting to be real numbers, and we're allocating for those. We've talked about some forecast unknowns, mainly the biennium budget, FY 28-29. We'll have a new governor, and again, the governor sets the stage for what's going to go on in education spending throughout the state. So we are assuming that they are going to continue what they did this year and give us a 0% base cost increase. Now, they could potentially go completely away from the formula. They could come up with a bridge formula. We really don't know, but we have to assume they're going to do something similar to what they've done in the last 6 years and more like what they've done this year and next year. So that's a major assumption that we're making.
In other words, assume the worst.
Correct. And we talk about being conservative. The forecasts, year 1 and 2, I feel pretty strongly that it's pretty accurate because we know what we're operating under.
Yeah.
You can't go and assume that I'm going to get an 8% increase on base cost and we're going to be flush with cash. You just can't assume that, because then you wake up and you're out of money. So our assumptions, yes, are conservative. Hopefully something better comes down the pike. I really, with everything that I hear, I don't see that coming to fruition. So yes, we're going to project and we're going to assume a 0% base cost increase out of the state.
To plan for the worst and hope for the best.
Absolutely. There is a lot of talk about property tax now. We've got a revaluation here in Butler County in FY26, which would be good for the district, but there's a large push to cap property taxes specifically for districts that are on the 20 mil floor. And we are a district that's on the 20 mil floor. What that means for everyone is that, we are at the lowest legal funding level from our local property taxpayers that we can be. And so the legislature is trying to cap the amount that we can get out of property taxes. So I've gone in there, we've assumed that they're going to cap it at CPI, Consumer Price Index, which is what everyone is saying. I mean, the governor's put together a property tax work group. They had about 20 recommendations. One of those recommendations was to do that, as well as there's a House bill out there that's getting some traction to do that. So that potentially could be a very likely thing. And so we've accounted for that in the model.
I think it bears, you said that we didn't create this, the tax process.
No.
I think there's a misunderstanding that the district is the cause, the schools are a cause of the tax issues. They set the rules. They set, when I say they, the state government, on how taxes are assessed, the process that goes through. We didn't have anything to do with that. And really, the windfall is not that great for us.
Especially if they're going to cap it.
Cap it, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we are sitting at the lowest legal level that we can possibly be. Yeah, so. Throughout the forecast period, our negotiated agreements are up, so those will have to be bargained. So we've got an assumption out there in the model, and then we are also modeling a continued enrollment decline. Again, we don't know what that's going to be. We talk about it every Monday morning. We have some idea, but who really knows the exact number? So this is what the forecast looks like. We've got the blue columns on the left-hand graph there. That represents revenues. And as we alluded to before, that's pretty darn flat throughout the forecast period. There's several reasons for that. It's, the state not fully funding the formula. It's a potential cap on property taxes. It's definite declining enrollment. And then when we look at the orange bars on the graph, that represents expenses. And so we are projecting expenses to ever increase. I mean, utility costs never go down. We have negotiated agreements for salary. That moves forward in an increasing way as we go throughout the forecast. So what are we left with? So on the right-hand side, we can see our projected cash balance. And again, right now, we're pretty healthy. We're pretty healthy, which is a good starting point and a lot better starting point than a lot of districts around the state of Ohio. But as we continue to deficit spend, we can see how that eats into the savings as we look at 2027 and 2028, 2029, as we move through the forecast period.
That just brings another point, that the sooner we make any adjustments in our expenditures, it has almost like a compounding effect.
Correct. Any cost savings measure has a compounding effect. So the earlier you make it, the less you have to make.
Can't wait.
Yeah, can't wait. Agree.
Mr. Davidson, this is a graph that deals with cash on hand that you alluded to earlier. If we look at 2026, we are above that minimum threshold that the state likes to see. But again, it's 4 months of cash. So days cash, that just means if we stop receiving revenue today, how long could we operate? If any of you listen to Dave Ramsey, like Andrea likes to say, he recommends 6 months. So we're looking at 4 months this year as we continue to deficit spend. 2027, that's 3 months. 2028, less than 2 months, and so on. So as we move through the forecast period, again, it looks very similar to the cash balance graph, just said in a different way. Talked about the slide for declining enrollment, and that's what this graph illustrates. And I say it every forecast, forever and ever. When we were in the Journal News, it was Hamilton City School District, 10,000 student district. That's how we were portrayed in the paper, and it was true for a long time. This year, we are getting funded on 8,264 students. Just to put that in perspective, 10, 12 years ago, we had kindergarten classes rolling in at over 1,000. This year's kindergarten class, district-wide as a whole, was 618 kids. So we are definitely seeing some enrollment decline. Go ahead.
And that enrollment decline can be attributed to students moving to private schools through the Ed Choice.
We've actually done Mr. Wright has done some significant research on and some deep diving on what is going on with that enrollment decline. And forever I thought that the kids just weren't there. People don't have 4, 5, 6 kids anymore. That was my assumption. Well, Mike's done extensive work showing the kids are there. The kids are there. They're just choosing other options, Ed Choice being one. But yeah, we can absolutely go over that so you can see what exact pieces that looks like. But the good thing is the kids are there,
right,
and we can attract them to Hamilton City Schools.
Right.
That's
Jeremy, I've got a few of those numbers pulled up if you want me just to kind of talk through them.
Please.
So basically going back to 2021, so we in the district kind of residentially, we had about 10,265 students. Today, if you look at our residential students, it's about 10,500. So there's not as many. I mean, it's a couple hundred difference, which you wouldn't think would make that big of a difference. But when we look at community schools, and community schools are our online community schools, so like a K-12, a TRECA, site-based community schools, which is Butler Tech, and then dropout recovery schools, which would be schools like Marshall High School and Govs out of Warren County. So in 2020, 2021, we had 428 students attending those community schools. As of last year's fiscal year, we had 1,020. So that's an increase in about 600 students. The Ed Choice expansion impacted us from 2020 to 2021. So when you take Ed Choice Original, Ed Choice Expansion, and the John Peterson Scholarship, which is for some of our identified students, we had about 437 students attending those schools in 2020, 2021. As of this past year, we had about 915. So when you look at the community schools and the school choice with the Ed Choice expansion, those school choice issues have obviously impacted our enrollment as well.
Yeah, if I can add to that too, a few years ago, something that was a shock when Mike brought this up and showed us this graph was the number of kids that jumped that were attending Butler Tech. We can trace that back directly. If you remember, Butler Tech used to have an application process where they would interview, they would pick who they wanted. They went to a lottery a few years ago. Our number doubled, went from, I think it was 190.
It went from 167 to 364, so
in 1 year,
200 student increase.
Which is good. Our kids but those are also dollars that are following those kids right out our door. So that was something I hadn't realized when we were looking at some of these. I think people think it's all Ed Choice. Ed Choice is hitting a lot of this, but some of these other programming, our partnership with Marshall, that's a lot of kids that have walked out of the door. So there's some strategy that we have to look at in our programming, in our retention, and in our recruitment to try to capture. But I think what was encouraging to Jeremy, Mike, and myself was these kids are out there. We were thinking it was a declining birth rate.
Yeah.
We were thinking there were a lot of factors that we couldn't control. The things we're seeing here, there's some positive signs that we could do some things different to keep kids here in Hamilton.
That's why I keep saying we need to market ourselves better. And get those kids back.
But to that point too, though, as that enrollment declines, that directly affects staffing.
Moving on, I added this slide because I thought it was interesting. We can see here the financial responsibility burden, where that lies. 14% of the financial burden of educating a student is on our resident property tax owners. The balance of that comes from state, federal, and business taxes. It costs us about $82 a day to educate a student, and of that, 14%, so it costs the residential property owners about $11.50 to educate, which I think we do a nice job. We are consistently, we talk about our 20 peer districts when we talk about our state scorecard and all of that. Well, there's some financial indicators in there as well, and we're consistently in the top area of cost per pupil as well for those.
When you say top area, you mean?
I mean the lowest.
Lowest, yes. I want to clarify that because that's been the way we've been doing it for quite a while.
Well, and I also think that that's, a lot of the property owners in the district make the assumption that they're funding everything for the schools, and I think that this could be an eye-opener for them as well.
Yeah, I just thought it was an interesting graph. You rarely see it put that way.
Yeah.
So we've talked about decisions at the state level, and what has happened in the last several years is the state is reducing the burden that it's placing on itself to educate students.
Public students.
Public students.
Let's be.
And increasing the burden on, or the financial burden on individual taxpayers. And so the green line on this graph shows the state's portion of base costs, so what they're funding. And the black line through the graph is what the local taxpayer is now responsible for. And so you can see those lines converging, meaning the state is putting less responsibility on itself and more responsibility on the local taxpayer. And that's a graphical representation of what we've been saying for the last several years.
Which that also brings me back to that the state constitution says that they have to fund public schools. This isn't looking to me like they have that thought in mind. Plus the fact, I believe you gave us some statistics, Superintendent Blevins, that Ohio was at the bottom. 45th. As far as what the state thinks of education.
Percentage of state budget allocated to education?
Yes. Yes, so we're at the bottom. And now they're saying that it's even less important,
Well,
I
the
think.
Supreme Court's ruled the same thing with the DeWalt case.
Yeah, the Supreme Court said the funding wasn't.
Yeah, and that's been going on for
It's
almost
still
30 years now,
That
so.
the case isn't closed.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be working. Has anybody filed a motion for contempt against the legislature for this? Because this is not in accordance with what the Supreme Court said.
Not that I am aware of. I know we are part of the Ed Choice lawsuit, but as far as it, remaining unconstitutional, I'm not aware of. And to be fair, that's why the Fair School Funding Formula was put in place.
Yes.
That was the latest attempt to rectify the situation, and they went through year 1 and 2 and put it in place. In year 3 and 4, they tried to balance the scale with increasing base costs, because it never costs less to educate a child. And then here we are 5 and 6, and we're kind of scrapping the idea, it seems like, if we're not going to fund the formula. So
And how long ago was that they ruled it unconstitutional?
Oh.
1997.
97.
We actually, Jeremy and I met with a representative, this was a while back, and one of the representatives shared with us that in that ruling, that it was declared the way that Ohio is funding its public schools to be unconstitutional, they were given a very long runway to fix the problem. That person said about 38 years. I don't know. I've never seen that in writing, but said 38 years to us in the meeting. And so a lot of our state legislators are just kicking the can down the road, you know, making some attempts. You know, that was the latest we heard is what the Fair School Funding Formula was supposed to be the first attempt at trying to fix that. Well, we've already stopped funding that. We're no longer continuing that process. My understanding, and with talking with both that representative as well as others, I've gone up to Columbus in the last month and met with other superintendents and state reps, was really they're waiting for the next governor to come in. That there will not be any massive, you know, reform to the way that schools are funded in the next at least 2 to 4 to 6 years, depending on what happens.
Well, on a plus side, with the lawsuit, my understanding is that's how the Ohio School Facilities funding got going back in, 97, 98, was to sort of placate some of those issues with school buildings. And that's how we were able to fund our school buildings and to other districts. And my understanding, that's still going on in some respects. But it was a short range,
Well,
short-term
it fell in their
solution.
lap because of the tobacco money.
Yeah, the tobacco money, all of a sudden they were flush.
Yeah, what are we going to do with it? Oh, okay, we get ourselves out of contempt,
Yeah,
you know, put money over here.
but that's in the past.
Yeah.
So in summary, again, we've talked a lot about these. What's happened from May to now? We've got a different budget than we thought we had. We're experiencing some further enrollment decline that we've had to allocate for. The state is pushing really hard on property taxes, and so we've allocated for those in our model. Again, we knew FY26 historically, if you look at forecasts in the past, was going to be a tough year. We've done a lot to mitigate that number of the deficit spend this year, but we knew this year was going to be a bad year. What's important is what we do in the future years with the projected deficit spend to right the ship. And again, our key factors, we're always looking, these are the main things that we're looking at. We're tracking enrollment, whatever we can do to attract students to Hamilton City Schools. We're keeping track of legislative updates, particularly right now, what is going on with property tax reform, and what's going to happen in the next biennium budget. I mean, we have constantly with state legislatures and proponents of school districts, what in the world is going to happen coming down the pike. And, you know, like we talked about, the biennium, where we get our money from the state, that's huge for us. And so we keep a close eye on these three things. I know we've done a lot of question and answer, but if you have any further questions, that's my presentation tonight. I'd love to answer them.
I appreciate all the effort you put into this. It's a lot of work. And you put it in simple terms that everybody can understand.
Thank you.
I appreciate that.
I've got a couple of comments. I want to make sure that people understand what a few of my fellow board members have said. Mrs. Baker correctly said that Ohio is currently 45th out of 50 in what our state spends on public education. That's terrible. And as Mr. Sprague correctly stated, our current political environment, our state is even trying to further reduce that, which will make us even worse. That's embarrassing, in my opinion. As far as the forecast goes tonight, Mr. Frazier, you did a great job. And let's think about the forecast. We're asking him to accurately make a 4-year forecast which, as far as I know, it's impossible to predict the future. But we're asking him to accurately do that, especially when it is based on so many variables that are far beyond our control, that literally can change on a daily basis. I think it's important for our community to be aware of that and understand that, because that's almost an impossible job for him to do, but he does it very well. And I agree with Mr. Davidson. Thank you for your efforts and the information.
Thank you.
If I can share one piece, especially with with Chris Brown and Jeff Brandt being here tonight, we had our monthly Butler County Superintendent meeting today, and this is affecting every school district across the state, no matter which side of that, which way you're more heavily funded. The Lakotas that are more dependent on property tax versus us that are more dependent. There are attacks to both sides of that equation right now. Our Butler County superintendents are working together to put out a package, if you will, to help inform our community. I don't think our community and our taxpayers really understand what's happening. They see the dollars, they see some of the propaganda that's out there, but I will be, hopefully in the next few weeks, sending to you a draft. We want to send kind of in solidarity with all of the superintendents in the county, both to legislators, but to our community. There's a really nice infographic that we're putting together for them really to understand what this means to our communities. Being flat funded, it's not that we're misspending. It really isn't. It's not that we are, not watching every dollar that's coming in. One of those line items, Dr. Kopis, as you mentioned, can throw things into a tailspin. Just the decision of the homestead credit. That's $800,000 that went out of our district throughout the entire school year.
Can you take a second and explain that?
Yes. Jeremy, do you want to explain the homestead credit?
Sure.
How the current decision made by the county commissioners affected
So what was that, 2 Mondays ago, 3 Mondays ago? So does everybody know what homestead is? Homestead is a property tax reduction for elderly individuals, military veterans, disabled persons, to where the value of the property, the taxable value is reduced so that the individual taxpayer has some property tax relief. Well, the state has said, okay, we think that's a good thing. Homestead can move forward, but we think that if, they're not paying as much on property taxes, then the beneficiary of those taxes, which most of that comes to the school district, they're going to lose money on this good thing. And so the state has agreed to reimburse the school districts for lost property tax revenue for giving that credit to individual taxpayers. Well, another thing that happened in the latest biennium budget, along with, messing around with the forecast and all other things, is they gave the county commissioners the power to, in essence, double that credit, which the effect was to wipe out the reimbursement to the school districts. So
just to be clear, the regular homestead we would still receive, but the amount that was doubled, we were not made good on that. Right?
It's going to wipe out the credit.
Wipe it all out, because we're not made good on the new thing, the new
Correct.
amount.
So, in essence, we get a reimbursement after settlement from the state, and that was last year was $864,000. So, in essence, the vote a couple weeks ago wiped out $864,000. Now, that money goes several different places. Of that, $560,000 was general fund revenue, which we're talking about today. So I had to update the model again after the vote to remove $280,000 of property tax revenue for this fiscal year and next fiscal year. The balance of those dollars come in to pay debt on our elementary buildings, and also to help fund our PI fund, which pays for capital projects. So about $300,000 between the other two funds is now gone as well.
One more piece to wrap up with that. So in addition to this coming out from the Butler County Superintendents. I've got 2 new committees that I've formed, both that I meet with our teachers on a monthly basis through our Superintendent Advisory Council. And just last week, we had our first Parent Advisory Council meeting. And this was a topic of conversation to start getting the word out about what this looks like so that people understand, because they don't understand the numbers, they don't understand what this means for our district. They see a value and think, oh my gosh, you are flushed with cash. But when you look at the scale, that was the biggest takeaway with our parents the other night, was the sheer scale of our district. I think a lot of people think of us as a small town district. We are not. When you look at that, line item of we're spending $121 million this school year, that just gives you the scale and the size of this district. So I think those are great avenues. We're talking about different ways to get word out there, but unfortunately, these are laws right now, and they're continuing to monkey around with things that can directly take dollars out of our pocket. So Jeremy is in a hard place with budgeting, and we look at this every single Monday because it is so volatile and can change at any time.
Mrs. Blevins, I have one other comment. I want to make sure I make this point clear about what I mentioned earlier. Mrs. Baker's correct. We're currently 45th out of 50. Mr. Sprague, I love the comment that he made that our state is currently even trying to further reduce their expenditure. And I love the point that you made, Mr. Sprague, trying to further reduce what they pay to educate students in public education. Okay? To me, that goes hand in hand with what Mr. Davidson said. While they're doing that, they did find $1.7 billion to take away from public to put into private. That's hard to explain, especially when you consider, and correct me if I'm wrong, 90% of the students in our state are in public institutions.
Yeah, based on the last article I saw throughout the entire state, about 85 to 90% of all students still attend public school.
Well, and to Joe, I mean, we've all seen the different articles that, is it Policy Matters? What's the group that's carrying forth the Vouchers Hurt Ohio, that so many districts are being penalized and don't even are not even part of the ed choice. They don't even have kids going to that have that opportunity. And like we've all said, it's not the ed choice that's the problem. It's that there's no accountability whatsoever of how people spend the money or how well the students are doing. Yep. And that's where that's upsetting to me.
It's shocking that our state allows that to happen.
Making a level playing field.
I've always said that.
Jeremy, again, thank you. That concludes our work session or work meeting. Does anybody need a break before we go into the open meeting or to the business meeting?
Thanks for asking.
We'll call the business meeting to order then. Roll call.
Mr. Davidson.
Here.
Dr. Kopus.
Here.
Mr. Sprague. Here. Mrs. Baker.
Here.
Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I need a motion to approve our agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Roll call.
Mrs. Baker.
Yes.
Mr. Davidson.
Yes.
Dr. Kopus.
Yes.
Mr. Sprague.
Yes.
I would entertain a motion to approve our minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Mr. Davidson.
Yes.
Dr. Kopus.
Yes.
Mr. Sprague.
Yes.
Mrs. Baker.
Yes.
Move on to public participation. Nobody has signed up, so there is no public participation. We'll move on now to superintendent comments. Blevins.
Thank you, Vice President Davidson. Just a few. I know Mrs. Weisbrod shared this earlier, but today, first quarter ended, which is crazy to believe. We are 25% through the school year. This quarter has been a wonderful start to the year. I know we're talking about very heavy topics, but we're doing a lot of amazing things in this district. I know that Mrs. Smith came and showed you the draft of the quality profile, but I did provide each of you with a hard copy tonight. This went out to our communities. This is going out to realtors in the area, local businesses, the chamber office, et cetera. And I think it speaks to really, truly all that we do for our students and our staff. And it is just impressive to see it all put. Our hardest decision every year is what makes it and what doesn't, because we could fill a 4-chapter book with all of the things happening. So I just wanted to make sure to highlight that and thank Mrs. Smith for her work on getting that together. I also just want to, talk about that. We left a cookie in front for each of you. This week we had an opportunity to go out and honor, sorry, Mr. Frazier, not you, just for the board today. But we had an opportunity to go out this week and celebrate our staff who helped students reach a great milestone on meeting MAP growth. And so any teacher that had 80% more of their students meet or exceed growth on our MAP assessments were honored. We had so many staff that we had to split those individual classroom recognitions over 3 days. And I just think that speaks, with Ms. Bowling standing here today, our teachers are amazing quality and work so hard in front of that. Just as a reminder to our families, we do not have school for students tomorrow. That is a teacher records day to get all those grades in and wrap up the quarter. And then Monday and Tuesday are fall break. So it's a time for all of our staff to unplug and unwind. We do begin second quarter on Wednesday the 15th, and I'm looking forward to all we'll continue to do as we head towards the holiday season. The last little bit tonight, you'll see we have a fairly light agenda. We opened tonight's business meeting mostly so that we could meet the new deadline with the forecast. But we do have 3 items for you guys this evening. The first is a resolution to formalize the naming of 2 of our facilities here in the district, and I just wanted to take a minute to honor that. The first is the Garfield Middle School Gymnasium that we renamed Tim Reed Court. I know Dr. Kopis was able to attend that and be present for that celebration. And then we have the Blue Room that is now going to be known as the Halcomb Family Blue Room over at Virgil Swarm Stadium. So we want to thank everyone who made those options come together. I do also, when we start naming places, I get a lot of what's next, what are we going to name? Because we have so many people that are deserving of those awards. We are putting together a committee that will help to set the criteria, the frequency with what we're doing, we're doing that. So just see more to come on that here in the next few months. And then the only other thing that will be up for your approval from my seat this evening is a field trip. That's actually with one of our partners, Miami University, their Upward Bound TRIO program. Students from Hamilton High School will get to go to Camp Campbellgard and NKU over the fall break to experience both community building but also leadership. So those are the items this evening on the agenda.
Well, thank you. We'll move on to the next item is the building court dedications that Mrs. Blevins just spoke about, the Tim Reed Court and the Halcomb Family Room, or Family Blue Room over at Virgil Swarm. I need a motion to approve the resolutions.
So moved.
Need a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Dr. Kopis?
Yes.
Mr. Sprague?
Yes.
Mrs. Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Davidson?
Yes. Move on to the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second it.
There's been a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Mr. Sprague?
Yes.
Mrs. Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Davidson?
Yes.
Dr. Kopis?
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is the finance agenda.
This evening, we only have one item. It is the approval of the 4-year forecast that needs to be uploaded to the state by October 15th.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
There's been a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Mr. Sprague?
Yes.
Mrs. Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Davidson?
Yes.
Dr. Kopus?
Yes.
All right, our next meeting is scheduled for Thursday, October 23rd, beginning at 4 o'clock. I believe that'll be a work session, business meeting, and possibly an executive session,
If needed.
if needed. All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Need a second?
Second.
All right, we are adjourned.